Yeah, we've got weddings to discuss, but before we even get to that, last week I asked you guys, what's a substitute in French for mamma mia? And I found it out. Thank you all who submitted your answers here. Apparently, this is how you say mamma mia in French. Oh mon dieu. Did I say that right? And then someone said ooh la la, but I'm not saying that for Tatiana and Yannick this week. Oh, okay. Let's get into my week 3 recap and review for Love is Blind France, which, yes, includes our weddings for this season. What's going on, you guys? James here with another real recap and review for Love is Blind France. That's right, episodes 8 and 9. We're in week 3, which is not technically the final week. That's next week with the reunion. And yes, we're talking all about that on the channel. So hey, go ahead and get subscribed to the channel down below. We're just about 500 subscribers away from 30,000. And I thank you all so much for your support. Like this video and get loud in the comments below and let me know. Does everyone who says I do and I don't match up with your predictions for this week? Because I'm gonna tell y'all something. There's one couple that says I do, and I did not expect them to say it. And yes, usually we do a spoiler-free and a spoiler-filled recap section, but guys, there's only 2 episodes. They're about an hour each, and y'all want to hear me talk about the weddings, right? So I really don't want to waste too much time, so we're going to get into the spoilers right away. So if you haven't already seen episodes 8 and 9, watch them. Save this to your watch later list. Come back and we'll talk all about it. Because y'all, it starts off with some drama. And then it sort of fizzles out a bit. But yeah, you know who we're starting with. We're starting with Tatiana and Yannick. Let's pick up where we left off from last week's episodes in the wedding dress shopping moment. Y'all, Tatiana, she made up her mind in that moment, let me tell y'all. Tatiana tells all of the girls that she won't be trying on a dress because she wants only to do it when she's 100% sure. And guess who the first person to give her a hug is? That's right, it's Kim, the leader of the Mean Girls Club. And you know what? Listen, Tatiana's a part of it, but all the girls who were in that little club in the pods came up to give her a hug, and y'all know Julie is keeping it real. She went up to hug her, but after everybody went up to hug, like a little church pat, you know, I feel bad for you, bye. But Julie, listen, she remembers. And you're probably wondering, did Tatiana even make the right decision? I'm here to answer your question for you. Absolutely yes. I don't see them working together at all. I didn't see them working together when they started having their first real disagreements. Yannick is, I think, too immature, but also Tatiana, let's just say that sometimes Tatiana, tends to, get upset when she doesn't get her way. And that is not always the greatest sign, because no matter what in any relationship, there's healthy compromise. But Tatiana was like, my way or the highway, and Yannick is like, I want to play soccer with the boys. Chill out. So we end the wedding dress moment. Not gonna lie, Tatiana's dress probably was gonna be pretty fire, but now let's transition into Yannick's dinner with, I think, his brother. Listen, sometimes Netflix's English subtitles don't always be linking up well with the French that we see on screen, so I'm trying in my head okay, that I think means brother, so please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I think he's having dinner with his brother, and he reveals to his brother, like, Tatiana ghosted me for like 2 days. And that's not great, honestly. It's not a good feeling. And listen, if they had a big argument, which I'm pretty sure they did, for him to try to reach out, maybe kind of, smooth out the situation, that was nice, I guess. But this is me reading into it. I just think Tatiana made up her decision. She was like, I'm over it. No more trying. And then Yannick reveals something that I didn't know, and none of us knew, is that he would have signed the prenup or the contract with the notary, but apparently Tatiana came to the meeting 2 minutes late. Oh, I'm sorry. Not 2 minutes. 2 hours late, y'all. I mean, that is late. For anyone, that's late. Let me get some more context, so stick with me for why she showed up late. But Yannick did sound, to my surprise, like he was still wanting to try with Tatiana. And I don't know. I mean, I thought to myself, okay, that was kind of nice, But here we have Tatiana on the side like, no. Don't even know what no is in French, but it's probably just no. Shout out to Yannick's brother. I'm still trying to figure out if it's his brother or not, but shout out to him for basically saying, hey yo, bro, this is over. So now it's time for what is the final conversation between Yannick and Tatiana. And let me tell you, from the minute Tatiana sat down on that sofa, it was like argument central. This was so over, it ain't even funny. Yannick tells Tatiana, "It's good to see you smiling." And Tatiana replies with, "I smile often." Yo! Now listen, we've got some really cold lines in Love is Blind recently, but this is wild, y'all. I mean, I smile often. Like, she knows that she's not messing around anymore. In her mind, this thing's over. I keep saying the word over. Gosh, if I had a penny for every time. Anyway, Yannick, the whole time I was distracted by, not because of what he's saying or wearing or his fake glasses. I don't even think they're real glasses, but he was out of focus again. If you watched my week 2 recap and review, remember one of my negatives was the subject in frame was out of focus for some reason. It happened again. I'm gonna need to ask the producers here, please recognize it in the moment or something, or just manually lock on the subject, because I can't with out of focus, man. I was so distracted. But what snapped me back into place like Thanos was Yannick telling her that their love is real. Now, Yannick, listen here, bro. I mean, I think to him it wants to be real, but Tatiana's like, you can keep saying that all you want, but your tone with me when we went back to the notary was very aggressive and inappropriate. She said harsh. I'd imagine maybe he was upset at her and he said like, like, no, you know, like, this is not okay. You're 2 hours late. And Tatiana's like, let's just sign the thing. But we don't know what happens. Maybe there's found footage somewhere that they'll show at the reunion next week. During the conversation, Tatiana ends up cutting off Yannick quite a bit, and then they both are trying to speak over one another, and I just know that this man is getting PTSD from meeting Tatiana's mom. I just know that in the background, Tatiana's mom is still lingering, like, you know, just sitting there over his shoulder, like, you're not good for my mom, you're not good for my daughter, you're not good for my daughter. I mean, in a way, I feel bad for Yannick, but at the same time, bro, you kind of like this is it. This is you know what I mean? This is your guys' relationship. And then at one point, Tatiana says, "I give up, I'm done, I'm not gonna marry you," she says. She even takes off the microphone as she's yelling at Yannick. Can you imagine? Like, that's on another level of disrespect in a way, because it's like, not only does she not want to hear him out, she doesn't even want us to hear him out. That's wild. She's like getting the microphone off herself and she's like, "I'm out of here, you know, good night, I'm going to eat some baguette, bro." But like, yeah, I think in the end, it couldn't have ended on a worser note. You know what she says to this man? She says, "In the end, to me, love is not blind." Come on, yo, that is bad. And Yannick at that point is just like, excuse me, okay, you know, he's saving something in the chamber for like the reunion. Like, they're just gonna empty out whatever thoughts they have at the reunion, because ain't no way, y'all, that she said that and he didn't have much of a retort. He just said, "I hope you have a beautiful life," like, so on and so forth, like false, you know, empathy or sympathy, I should say. But my oh my, this reunion's about to be spicy with these two. So with Yannick and Tatiana gone, it's time to focus on the relationships that still are around, like Julie and Charles. They're shopping for baby gifts, talking about the future, and they did drop something. They said that they've spoken about this already and they're waiting to be parents. So I get it, you know, you gotta worry about the wedding if you're gonna say "I do," and then you'll worry about being a mom and dad. But I'm gonna be honest, y'all, this is maybe just a side note. When people get married, the expectation shouldn't be let's have babies right now. The expectation should be let them enjoy their marriage, life together, travel, adventure, do fun stuff, you know what I mean? Cook for each other. Like, listen, I'm doing the dishes and I'm cooking. To a degree, I'm learning how to cook more, but I'm doing the dishes. But man, don't put that pressure on them. So it was nice to hear them say that they're gonna wait. But then Charles dropped something in his testimonial interview saying he needs to be sure that he wants to marry Julie. This is planting seeds of doubt in my mind now, and there's more to come. So let's move on to Kim and Thomas. Is it? Oh no, it's Thomas. Isn't that how they say it in French? Like, it's kind of cool how they say it. But Thomas basically says that his daughter understands about their soon-to-be marriage, but Kim has not been introduced to his daughter. And this tells me something. I'm actually a little worried for these two at this point, because it's a big deal. You would think that you introduce your child to your soon-to-be wife, your current fiance, and if they get along, great. If not, that's not good. It's not good. But it sounds like Kim needs more reassurance. So she's like, all right, fine. Like, your daughter sounds cool, but what about us? So Thomas says, we'll work on it, but I'm not going to introduce you to my daughter till we get married. So now we got a very complicated check-in on Chloe and Alexandre, and Alexandre says, I need to go home and collect my thoughts. Usually when this happens in the context of their relationship, not great, but Chloe's willing to stick it out. She's telling all of us at home, like, I'm putting my pride aside. I love this man. And Alexandre's like, I just want to climb walls and rock climb and go to mountains and stuff. So he goes home and he says, I'm nervous because I don't feel the same way she does. And he meets with his brother, I think, or his cousin. I can't remember. Again, I'm trying to read these French subtitles. But he tells this family member of his or close friend that he doesn't feel the same way that Chloe feels, and I haven't said I love you because of that. He's given all these excuses and reasons, and I'm just thinking, boy, bye. Just, you gotta leave, right? I don't even know they'll make it to the altar, right? So Chloe goes to visit now with Charles and Julie, telling them, hey, Alexandre went home to think, and how long do you think I should continue to fight for us? And then Charles says, takes off his glasses, gets his pen out. I got a quote for you. He says this, you fight until you're sure you won't regret your decision. And then Chloe's sitting here like, exactly. And I'm trying to still make sense of the quote, but the way he delivered it sounded really philosophical, you know? So Chloe reveals in her testimonial that she'll give Alexandre some more time. I just don't necessarily know how much more time she can give him before she realizes that this man is probably in Machu Picchu. And throughout this moment, I noticed, by the way, that they're propping up Charles and Julie to be the golden couple for this season. Sort of. So y'all let me know in the comments if you think Charles and Julie really are the golden couple this season. But let's move on to a couple we know ain't golden, and that's Sabrina and Van-My. Let me tell y'all, this relationship it reeked of I don't at the altar. I just don't know why, but here we go. Van-My says, hey Sabrina, I'm going out to a birthday party. I got so many friends. I'm going out. I'm gonna have a good time. Hey Sabrina, did I tell you I'm going out? And Sabrina's like, oh, I'm just gonna stay here and like chill, like twiddle my thumbs and stuff, go to bed early, I'm by myself. She's begging for an invitation, bro, and he doesn't extend it. Like, mamma mia, oh mon dieu. And to top it all off, Van-My says, I'm not gonna come home after because I want to spend some time with my family while I'm out. Ugh. But Sabrina does reveal that she's willing to let him live his life because she wants them to have a future together, and sometimes that comes with some compromises. All the while, you can just tell internally that Sabrina's with her possessive mentality. She's thinking, I'm gonna adjust you, Van-My. Get it? Because he's a chiropractor. Okay, so let's move on now to Kim and Thomas because they're choosing their wedding rings. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't think we got this with any other couple, if I'm not mistaken. I don't see it in my notes. But, guys, they sound like they're ready to get married, and I'm thinking the whole time, are they really gonna pull this off? Because they're sounding like they're ready for those next steps. Listen, all we gotta know is this. If Stormy, her dog, says no, then it's a no. So I gotta know what Stormy thinks. Too bad dogs don't speak English. Okay, now let's get into Charles and Julie's dinner. Now, I don't know what they ate, but they had a minor disagreement. I believe this is the dinner moment where they cooked like some chicken cutlets. I don't know what it was. I'm just praying that it was cooked. They had a minor disagreement, like I just mentioned, and it seemed like this is something that's been bubbling over. Like, Charles is telling Julie, I've been doing more than you, and Julie's like, excuse me, puts down chicken cutlet. She's not having that, you know what I mean? So I think that Charles and Julie are starting to really get into their first real arguments right before the wedding, and that's never a good sign. Julie definitely said that she didn't enjoy that conversation, that he brought everything up, and now she thinks that he has some doubts about her. So not everything is sunshine, rainbows, and whatever else is French oriented for Charles and Julie. I just don't know, man. I'm hoping that they get married because I really do think that they're the number one couple, at least right now, but it's not looking great. Alrighty now, guys, let's move on to Van-My meeting Sabrina's parents. And I just gotta know, does Van-My like never not smile? It's a beautiful thing, but at some point, he needs to maybe not smile in some instances, and we're actually gonna talk about that at the end during their wedding day. Just gonna say it. Alrighty, so Sabrina is trying to feed her mom in a certain moment, and at first I was wondering like, oh, maybe her mother's motor skills aren't so great. I mean, she does have Alzheimer's. I don't know if she's facing any other health issues, but it was more so that she said she didn't want to eat, but Sabrina knows she's got to keep her strength up. And in a way, I thought that was pretty beautiful. And whenever Van-My started talking about Sabrina, my first thought was, oh my gosh, these are the most compliments we've heard this man give her all season long. And I'm sure Sabrina's thinking, where was this? In Morocco. Come on, bro. That kind of rhymed. Van-My does take accountability for not taking much initiative in their relationship, but throughout all that, Sabrina's father says, listen, I'd be honored to be at your wedding and I'm happy for you guys. So hey, this is kind of nice, right? Let's be happy. Let's clap. Let's be happy for them. Yeah. I can't fake it. I can't fake it because I know what happens during their wedding day. So after that moment, we check in on Chloe and Alexandre, and guess who's back from his little home vacation? It's Alexandre. And he says that he still doesn't feel he's in love with her. So what happened on the trip, bro? Like, you weren't in love with her, you said before, and now you went on the trip and you came back and you're still not in love with her, you're saying. So what's happening there? He basically tells Chloe that he had his plans with an ex-girlfriend that he sacrificed because she didn't want to live with him in the mountains. I'm starting to think, homeboy, if you want to be in the mountains so bad and leave Paris, just do it at this rate. But then Chloe says, listen, I love you a lot. I'm willing to sacrifice. I'd actually leave Paris with you. Like, let me get some rock climbing gear on. Here's the thing, though. She's afraid of heights. Not great. So it's time for Charles and Julie to have their second dinner date, and this time they're at a restaurant. And Charles says, listen, I'm still wrapping my head around marriage and the idea of it with you. So of course, Julie starts crying. She's a little upset. She needs to get this reassurance, and Charles the whole time is just like, I don't know yet, man. And then Julie says, listen, I'm scared you're gonna say no. And then they start arguing because Charles is like, well, listen, here's why I have some doubts. I still don't like the way we handled a certain conversation. I'm doing more than you. Every time he says that, I want to be like, Charles, just stop it. Stop it. And if there was a bartender there, I know they're trying to get the tea, you guys, because they started raising their voice a little bit. Charles says, listen, I feel attacked. And Julie tells him, I know I got a temper, but she does feel justified in her anger in this moment. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of get it, to be honest, but she goes, and then after, like, they're arguing for a little while, but afterwards, she goes over to him, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, is she about to, like, slap this man in the face? No, it's not that dramatic, guys. It's not Love Island. She goes, and she sits on his lap, and then they start making out in the restaurant. I'm starting to think, did we all not take etiquette courses, or at least know restaurant etiquette? I'm eating dinner with my partner. I don't want to be looking over and seeing someone making out with each other and sitting on each other's laps and stuff. And I'm just thinking the whole time, I hope Netflix rented out the restaurant. But then Charles says in his testimonial interview that he needs more time to know if he can say yes at the altar. Well, I guess that dinner wasn't so grand for him. Alrighty, stick with me, because now we're going back to Chloe and Alexandre, man. It's just like, we keep going back, bro, to these two. But they do a wall climbing activity together. So remember when I just made that joke about her fear of heights? Here it is manifested in all of its glory, because she's going up the wall. And listen, if you have a fear of heights, of course you look down, you're scared. You want to jump off? No, that's not happening. But Alexandre tries to reassure her, and he says, like, that's just the fear. Don't worry, it'll escape eventually. But she's like, no, homie, it's not. I'm serious. This is not great for me. So she tries to overcome her fear, but it doesn't really work out. So now I'm starting to think maybe the mountains is not a good idea. I hope Alexandre is good with like maybe some wallpaper with some mountains on in his house, but they're not going to no mountains. And the next date we have is now Sabrina and Van-My's final date together. And Sabrina tells Van-My, I'm still thinking of whether to marry you. Okay, I actually think she says this in the testimonial, but she might as well have said it to his face. But he tells her, for the first time I think ever on camera at least, I love you. And Sabrina's like, oh my gosh, I love you too. And at this moment, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, they're going to get married. But for all intents and purposes, it did seem like a very sweet moment. But you know what's not sweet? These Bachelor and Bachelorette parties. Listen, I'll be honest with y'all. Love is Blind UK Season 2, they did a really good job, I feel like, with their Bachelor and Bachelorette parties. I mean, it seemed pretty equal across the board. But here, listen, they were lame. For the Bachelorette party, the only thing of note was Chloe getting up on stage and dancing. I guess she put on some outfit. I've seen it before. And the other girls join her. I don't know the name of the outfit, but we see sometimes like the showgirl era or whatever. But I couldn't help but think, while I was watching this, I don't know if I can buy any of this. Are they really happy or not? But I think Julie's like the only one getting married at this point. So it really made me think, I don't know. Are they enjoying themselves? They're just there for the free alcohol? I have no clue. And that's literally all I had for the Bachelorette party notes. Let's get into the Bachelor party itself. And they're at a bar and Charles does what he does best, I guess, this week. How do I say it? He expresses the fact that he's unsure of marrying Julie. I'm like, bruh, way to bring the party down, dude. Like, what are we doing here? Anyway, they do nothing but drink and probably have a conversation. And then Charles gets on top of a chair and starts like dancing and stuff. And I'm like, oh man, what is he, Greek? But yeah, pretty lame, guys. I'm so glad they were short moments. So let's move on now to our wedding moments. It's time, you guys. It's time. Who's got the rice? Throw the rice. Throw it. We begin with Chloe and Alexandre's wedding day. And let me tell you guys something. They speed through all these wedding moments fairly quickly. We get to the altar quicker than in any other Love is Blind season I've ever watched. And I'm glad they don't do these lame pod date flashback moments and stuff, this montage that we usually get. And I fast forward through that sucker so many times in Love is Blind US because, listen, I've already seen it. I remember your stuff in the pods. But listen, they don't do that here. Love is Blind France said, we gonna speed through this, and I kind of liked it. So them being first actually worried me, right? Chloe and Alexandre, usually the first couple to have their moment shown. It's not good. They'll probably say I don't at the altar. Boy, was I wrong. Week 3 of Love is Blind France is pretty consistent, I would say, with week 2 in terms of the overly dramatic music. I mean, my goodness, when Alexandre's getting ready, they just play overly dramatic music, almost like, oh my gosh, this is the boiling point or something. But it ended up being a little sweet and tender in a way because his grandmother showed up and he hasn't seen her in like a year, so he's crying and they're sharing a good moment together. So hey, good for them, right? I mean, honestly. Chloe says she knows that Alexandre's not ready while she's getting her makeup done. So on one hand, you got a cute grandmother-grandson reunion, and then Chloe on the other hand is like, yeah, this man is going to say no. I've actually never seen such negative moments like this in Love is Blind history before the wedding ceremony, because even the most, I guess, predictable couples to say I don't at the altar at least get some nice moments in their dressing rooms. But yeah, y'all, they ended that on a cliffhanger for episode 8, so now it's time for episode 9. And we begin, of course, with Chloe and Alexandre's wedding moment. So there's no wedding music being played. We just hear the soundtrack. It's dramatic AF. I really hope they did not actually play terrible music at the ceremony. Can you imagine? They're playing like, you know, a really dramatic track and everyone's sitting thinking like this is not working out, but Netflix hooked it up with the food. At this point though, I'm convinced they're saying no. But I did want to point out something about the officiant because man, he's wearing a sash. He got that on. That's pretty dope. I mean, I've officiated a wedding. I did not wear a sash. But I guess that's a thing in France. Correct me if I'm wrong, y'all, but this is pretty cool. I like to see how ceremonies are conducted in different countries, but man, that sash looked good. So I found this weird. It happened twice this week. Both Chloe and Alexandre, they gave each other a kiss. What? No, that doesn't happen. You're not supposed to kiss the bride or the groom until they say I do, right? Am I wrong on that? Is that a US thing only? Because I was shocked. So Alexandre goes ahead and reads his vows, and I'm going to be honest, the entire time he was reading it, I just thought he was going to say no. I was so convinced. He was throwing in uhs, and he was being really downtrodden. So I'm like, homie, you're probably not going to say yes, huh? So the officiant says, adjusts the sash, and says, Chloe, do you accept this man to be your lawfully wedded husband for the rest of your life? And Chloe says, I do. But that isn't the surprise, right? We knew Chloe was going to say yes. It's Alexandre. What does he say? Well, the officiant looks at Alexandre and says, homie, do you take Chloe to be your lawfully wedded wife and go on rock climbing adventures with for the rest of your life? And Alexandre, he adjusts his little earring. No, he doesn't do that. But he adjusts his earring and he says, I do. Really? Bro, really? You're saying I do? That is crazy, bro. I'm sorry. I did not expect him to say I do, let alone actually get through his vows, because there's another contestant that doesn't even get to the I do or I don't part. But man, that's crazy, right? Well, good for them. The reception is happening. He reveals that he's finally in love with Chloe, and Chloe's like, I've been waiting for this moment for 3 weeks of episodes. And then they get into the reception. I'm gonna be honest, y'all, the reception is shot very well, much better than Love is Blind UK and US. But yeah, our first married couple is Chloe and Alexandre. What? Now it's time for Kim, Stormy, and Thomas's wedding day. And you think I'm joking. No, Stormy was like in the ceremony, y'all. This dog was on Kim's mom's lap. That's something. But I felt like, man, it's weird how we hardly got moments between them. And if we did, they were very quick before their wedding day. That gave me like a little bit of caution and concern. So I'm thinking, all right, waving the yellow flag here. We'll see what happens because I'm cautious, right? But it ended up being, for me, I thought that they were actually doing good. You know, I'm like, oh my gosh, I think that they're actually going to make it during the moments leading up to the ceremony. Roland shows up to support Thomas, and I thought that was really cool because Thomas's family just didn't want to be there with him or couldn't be there with him. So, I mean, hey, it was pretty sweet. And then Stormy shows up to Kim's makeup and dressing room, and Kim puts the dog on her lap as she's getting her makeup and hair done. Listen, I'm all for dogs and being a part of the family, don't get me wrong, but I feel like if you're getting your makeup done, your hair done, listen, I mean, the dog probably shouldn't be in your lap. I don't know. That's probably just me. It might be a little chaotic, but hey, she seemed to be fine, so who am I to judge? The editing, though, in this segment from like moment to moment was really messy, especially because there was this weird fade out shot where it faded to black and then went to different shots of Kim in her dress. I don't necessarily love the editing in this week at all, to be honest with you, but it was probably the messiest in their wedding day. So everyone's walking to the aisle, and I actually kind of like that Roland walked Thomas down the aisle, but then they go straight into their vows and commitment vows. I'll be honest, I got no notes for their commitment vows. Sounded nice, but I was curious. Will they make it? So they ask Kim first, Kim, will you take Thomas to be your lawfully wedded husband? And she looks at him, looks at her mom, and looks at Stormy, back at Thomas, and says, no. Like, not even a, I can't at this time, or I really love him, but I can't at, she says no. Like, And she cites their differences, that it's too significant for them. And then she gives more reasons as to why she said no. She said something along the lines of, his passion and intensity is too much for me, and that's not the kind of love I want in my life at this age. And okay, you know, passion, intensity, different degrees of that, you know, healthy, unhealthy. But it does sound like she was using that kind of as an excuse that she just don't love this man. So as she's walking down the aisle by herself, there was like this melodramatic walk she was doing, and I'm like, come on, bro, you're playing this up. But yeah, it seems like I think Thomas would have said yes, honestly. But Kim said no, and Thomas is like, well, guess that's why I didn't introduce you to my daughter. Alrighty, it's time for the third wedding day, and this is between Sabrina and Van-My. So Van-My gets into his dressing room, Sabrina gets there, but we're focusing on Van-My right now. And he said to his friends and loved ones, listen, Sabrina's possessive side still scares me. He's using the word scare, though. He's not using the word intimidated or it concerns me. He's saying scared. This man is scared of Sabrina. Sabrina's parents show up to see their daughter, and they seem so happy for her, and they seem so sweet. Like, I kind of wanted this to work out just for her parents, but listen, it's about the couple, it's about those two. So they get ready, montage shots and stuff, but one thing caught my eye. Listen, Van-My's got himself a bolo tie, but it ain't no bolo tie you pick up from Walmart or something. No, this is a Prada bolo tie. I'm proud of him for saving up for that, because it must be crazy expensive. This man's got money. So they get to the altar and they shared a kiss before the vows as well. What are we doing? This has to be something in France. This has to be a cultural thing, because why would you share the kiss before unless you knew you weren't getting married? So during their commitment vows, I was just expecting Van-My to read off a laundry list of compliments for Sabrina like he did with the meeting of the parents with Sabrina, but no, Van-My says much more. He's like, Sabrina, my love, you are so sweet. Thank you so much for being Actually, nah, I take it all back. Kidding. I can't do this. He literally just tells her within his commitment vows that they need more time, and for him today, it's a no. Mamma mia, that is crazy. What a curveball, right? I mean, I didn't see that coming. I did see him saying no at the altar, though, and in the conversation afterwards, Sabrina says, listen, I respect your decision. And during that entire moment, Van-My's smiling. She's like sitting here on the verge of tears, and he's like, like, brother, you have to empathize a little bit. Don't smile in this moment. You just told her no on one of the biggest days of her life. Hey, it is what it is. He's Van-My. He just smiles. But honestly, I just don't see them getting back together, y'all. Well, alrighty. Time for the final wedding day of this season, and that is between Charles and Julie. So I'm thinking, okay, listen, let's go. We gotta get a pick-me-up here, right? And then Charles reveals that the last few days haven't been easy, and he's doubting everything. I mean, goodness gracious. So I'm thinking, oh great, we're only gonna get a marriage between Chloe and Alexandre, aren't we? Not so fast, though. Julie has her moments within her makeup and dress, all that stuff. It's so nice. But the nicest thing was Julie's father showing up all the way from Vietnam. Shout out Vietnam. I love your food so much. But Julie's father shows up, and because she doesn't speak to her mother anymore, she's only got her dad. So she starts bawling. And I'm going to be honest, Julie's father's got that outfit on, okay? That looks expensive, but it looks good. It looks clean on him. So, it was a really nice, tender moment. Charles then gets a visit from his aunt, who's standing in for Charles's mom, but he does reveal that he misses his mother and wishes maybe that she could have showed up. And then at this point, I'm not gonna lie, this was a glaze over my eyes, because I'm like, all right, we need to get to the altar. This is not interesting enough for me. Did anyone else feel that way? Because I was not interested in this moment leading up to the altar, but then eventually we get to the altar. Here we go, guys. Big moment, okay? Officiant with the sash asks the question to Charles first, and he says, Charles, Xavier, do you accept Julie as your wife, for better or for worse, through sickness and health? Yeah? And then Charles is like, dramatic pause, you know what I mean, and says, I do. And Julie's over the moon, because then they ask Julie, and Julie, no hesitation, none. She just says, yes. Yes, I do. And here we go, guys. A second married couple for Love is Blind France between Charles and Julie. Congratulations. That is so beautiful. And hey, they have a reception. It looks fun. The cake looks good, I hope, because of, bad cake can ruin a wedding. But man, it looked good. And then she does the bouquet toss, she gets the flowers. And then you see Julie's dad hanging out in the crowd. And I'm thinking, Julie's dad? Oh man, he wants a wife so bad. But how cool, right? Just to see them get married. They were my number one couple this season, and it worked out, right, for the best. So I'm praying that both them and Chloe and Alexandre have a beautiful, beautiful marriage, and we'll learn about many things, I'm sure, next week during the reunion, because that's a wrap for season 1. I almost put up 2. For season 1 of Love is Blind France, we got the reunion. It's 1 episode, most likely an hour and 20 minutes long or so, next week. So do not miss out. Subscribe to the channel, you guys, and let me know, what do you think of our 2 married couples and the others who didn't make it down to the altar? All I gotta say is, Tatiana wasn't a part of any of these weddings. Not even Kim's. At least I didn't see her. So something happened. She's probably like, I'm going back to work, deuces. But this was a fun season to cover. Overall, I did like Love is Blind France, and I thought that it was a refreshing take on a series, or a reality series, that I do enjoy watching, So it's a good mix of US, UK, and now France, guys. What's next? Listen, I love covering Love is Blind on the channel, so I'm here for y'all. So again, there you have it. Thank you all so much for supporting me through Love is Blind France. Again, Love is Blind US is coming. It's around the corner in October, and your boy's covering it, so don't miss out. God bless you guys. Thanks so much for watching and supporting, and I'll catch you at the next screening.